Hey guys, so I've been listening to Sokomatic's latest song, Scapegoat, and it's actually pretty interesting, so I thought I might just make an analysis video on it. Pay close attention to what Miku says right here, changing out my voice when you want to speak. When someone changes out her voice to speak for themselves, that's classic psychological projection. They put their own darkest flaws onto her, speaking the worst things they imagine about her because those thoughts exist deep inside themselves. Moments later, Miku says, casting your shadow on my face, before she and Teto ask together, is there something that you want to say? To cast a shadow on someone is to project your own fault onto them, the core theme of the Scapegoat. But when they ask, is there something that you want to say, it carries a double meaning. It's the executioner asking for their last words, but it's also Miku and Teto asking the executioner, are you accidentally confessing your own guilt through these accusations? In the chorus, Teto drops a fascinating line, waiting and waiting for the black screen. As she says this, the symbol of the black cube of Saturn appears. In esoteric and occult theory, the Saturn myth merges Roman lore with Gnosticism. Saturn represents the warden of linear time and physical limitation, while the Gnostic demiurge traps human souls in physical flesh. The black cube symbolizes this material matrix. This is going to be more important later on. When Teto says she is waiting and waiting, she's referencing Saturn's control over time. The black screen represents two things, the black void of death when brain activity stops, and the literal side of the physical cube. By dying, she reaches the edge of the material trap. Teto then prays that the sword will grant her heaven. On the surface, it sounds like wishful thinking before execution, but this directly references an ancient German executioner sword inscription. When I raise this sword, so I wish this poor soul will receive eternal life. At the end of the chorus, Teto says, hoping that I might make the cut, I have my eyes wide shut. Making the cut is a double-edged admission. She hopes she's pure enough to escape material reality into heaven, but part of her secretly wishes she was the one making cut, as the executioner instead. Eyes Wide Shut is a clear nod to Stanley Kubrick's film on elite esoteric rituals and human sacrifice. When Teto says her bleeding gets drowned out by a roaring crowd, bleeding plays on two meanings. It's her crying out in protest, but it's also the literal sound of a goat being led to slaughter. The crowd is described as roaring, like predatory animals waiting to feed, and like a crowd that's up in arms. Teto mentions being tied to the horns. One might think she's referring to the horns on her head, but she isn't. Instead, she's referencing ancient Mesopotamian altars. Sacrifices were physically tied to the four horn-like corners of the altar, a specific phrase directly quoted in the biblical book of Psalms. Miku follows up by saying everyone gets a portion of the cake. Taking joy in someone else's pain and projecting your faults onto a scapegoat is something everyone takes part in. Rich or poor, master or slave. But historically, in ancient Mesopotamia, elaborate cakes crafted by professional bakers were offered to gods inside temples, contrasting with Judean animal sacrifices. This is where that Saturn mythology comes back in. Miku brings up Venus and Saturn aligning in their place. As we covered, Saturn represents time and the strict limitations of physical reality. Venus represents passion, but it's also historically known as the morning star, a direct reference to Lucifer. So, Venus and Saturn aligning represents a union between Lucifer and the warden of physical reality. Beyond the symbolism, these are two of the brightest planets visible from Earth, and a conjunction like this is an extremely rare cosmic event. On the surface, the song seems like a straightforward story about human scapegoats, but deep down it's pure cosmic horror. These human sacrifices are ultimately feeding Saturn, the very force keeping them trapped in physical reality. In the background throughout this video, you can see the Tower of Babel. It's not because this story has anything to do with the Tower of Babel itself, but it establishes the Babylonian setting. Teto sings about bridging above and below. The Tower of Babel was based on Etymononke, a massive ziggurat whose name literally translates to the foundation of heaven and earth. It was a place created to bridge above and below, bringing the presence of divinity to earth through the sacrifices given on top of the temple. Teto then says, you stand before the gate. The word Babylon itself translates to Gate of God. She is standing before the literal Gate of God, about to ascend the temple steps to the bridge between heaven and earth to be slain. During the refrain sequence, Miku takes on the sins of past versions of herself from previous songs. It's a meta-nod to Sokomatic's past work, taking on legacy sins. Teto uses some wordplay next, saying you'll have to. It sounds like you'll have to, as in you'll have to do this if you want to escape your own sins, but the two refers to two tickets out of personal accountability, Miku and Teto. They're the twin scapegoats carrying the town's sins. Teto adds, pick my destination, hope you're coming too. If she really is forced to carry everyone's dark sins, she won't go to heaven, she will be dragged down to hell. And if that's her destination, she's cursing her executioners to burn alongside her. Finally, Miku delivers the closing line, all roads lead to Rome. Rome didn't exist during ancient Babylon, so why use Citium? Because of a major historical parallel. Both Babylon and Rome conquered Jerusalem and destroyed its sacred temple, first ending the Judean sacrificial system and then ending it permanently centuries later. The ultimate message of the song is absolute personal accountability. You cannot sacrifice someone else to wash away your own evil. Whether you try to scapegoat others or not, all roads lead to the same destination. You'll have to pay for your own actions, in this life or the next.